Hi guys, this is JJ. Well, last month I attended an IDP-hosted IELTS speaking and writing seminar, which was presented by an actual IELTS examiner, So I've taken some important points from the session, focusing on some questions that my students commonly ask. So this video will reveal the insider tips on what examiners really look for and what they hate in speaking and writing tests. All right, so let's dive into the valuable insights. Well, I'll break down this into two parts, writing and speaking. And let's start with writing first. So first question, can I make up some facts to support my argument? Well, some students try to support their arguments with claims that are obviously false. Now, let me give you an example. Here you go. Korea has the lowest carbon emissions in the world because Koreans use bicycles for commuting more than any other country. This is perfect sentence, but is it true? Obviously not, right? Well, examiners definitely don't recommend making up facts to support your argument. It can actually hurt your score even if your English is perfect. So remember, examiners want accurate, well-supported arguments. All right? And the next one. Do template sentences help you get a better score? Let's talk about templates. Here's something really important to know. If you're forcing template sentences where they don't naturally fit, or if there is an obvious quality gap between your memorized template phrases and your own writing, guess what? Examiners might completely ignore your template sections when scoring your work. So use them properly. So to sum up, you shouldn't use templates that are way beyond your English level. But it's okay to use a template matches naturally with your content and your speaking ability. Okay? But don't become too dependent on them. All right? Okay. Next question. How many marks do I lose if I make spelling or minor grammatic mistakes? Well, I get this question a lot. Here's some good news. Minor grammar or spelling mistakes are not the end of the world. Well, those little errors, like getting a spelling slightly wrong or mixing up and don't stress too much about it. The examiner told us that these little small mistakes will not tank your score so much as long as there aren't many mistakes. And he said, we are not expecting a perfect essay, just an almost perfect one. All right? Question number 4. What about using answers provided by large English academies or online lectures exactly as they are? Well, examiners don't like that. They give high scores to your own answers and expressions. Well, if your essay is almost identical to many other answers, you might lose points. So, here you go. Originality wins. Okay? Well, I actually asked a follow-up question about this after the seminar, and my question was, if a student writes a great answer using template and some sample answers that you've seen in many other writings, would they still get good marks? Well, the examiner's response was a bit diplomatic, but essentially saying that those answers might result in slightly lower scores than the actual content quality deserves. So keep that in mind, okay? And question number 5. What's the most effective way to manage time during the writing exam? Well, time management is very important, and the examiner recommends this killer time breakdown for task 2. Here you go. You should spend first 10 minutes to plan your idea. Many students rush straight into writing. Stop and invest time in planning your essay first. Well, if you get a topic that you've practiced before, the planning time might be shorter, but still, invest at least 5 to 10 minutes for planning. And 25 minutes, you write, And last 5 minutes, you should spend this last 5 minutes for final checking. That's also very important. Okay? All right. Okay, so we're done with writing section. Let's move on to speaking section. Question number 1. Can I ask the examiner to repeat or explain the question if I don't understand it? I get this question a lot, and I always say, yes, ask again. If you can understand the question, ask again. The examiner actively encouraged this. Well, if you misunderstand the question and give an irrelevant answer, you will lose more marks. So keep this in mind, okay? And when you ask the question again, you can use these phrases. Could you please repeat the question? Could you rephrase that, please? So this one, if you cannot understand the question because of certain expression or some vocabulary, you can use this to ask the examiner to explain the question. Okay? All right. And the next one. How much does having a strong accent impact my score? Having an accent like Korean accent, Indian accent, Vietnamese accent won't tank your score so much. Most examiners have taught English in your country and are likely to be familiar with various accents. So instead, you should focus on these 3: intonation, rhythm, and connected speech. These are the facts they actually care. Let me explain this with a sentence. Here you go. I would like to talk about my Uncle June, who I really admire. Here, the intonation is a natural rise and fall, rising slightly on like, and slight emphasis on June since it's a name, and strongest emphasis on really admire since it's the part that shows your emotion, and falling tone at the end because it's a statement. Here you go. I would like to talk about my Uncle June, who I really admire. This is intonation. And how about rhythm? Rhythm comes with intonation. So rise and falls are smoothly connected. Then it makes the rhythm. I would like to talk about my Uncle June, who I really admire. And lastly, connected speech, which is linking sounds. Like here, talk about. But we don't say talk about. You should pronounce talk about. Talk about. So you should also work on your linking sounds. All right, next question. Is it okay to go over time in part 2? Well, I get this question a lot too from my students. And they also say the examiner stopped me while I was talking in part 2. Is that okay? Going over time is perfectly fine. Examiners will actually encourage you to keep speaking. So don't worry about it. All right? And then number 4. How should I handle tough questions in part 3? Yes, part 2 questions can be very challenging and abstract. But, simply saying, I don't know, or passing on the question isn't acceptable. Even with difficult questions, you should try to answer by making predictions, conducting analysis, offering suggestions, or providing evaluation. Well, this is very important. There are no right or wrong answers. Okay? For example, here is the part 3 question. Do you think all people's life will improve with the development of technology? Well, even though you have no clue, you should guess, you should predict. I'm not too confident about answering the question because I've never thought about it before. But if I had to guess, I would say that their lives can be enhanced by the development of technology, as new devices and apps make everything easier and faster. Something like this. Okay? Alright. Well, and the last point I want to talk about is this: avoid the difficult trap. Well, a lot of students use this phrase to buy some time. That's quite a difficult question. Let me think. Well, I kind of found it funny that the examiner who presented the seminar brought this up. Because as an IELTS instructor myself, I've seen a lot of students overuse this trick. Once I asked a student, "Do you like animals?" And she said, "That's quite a difficult question. Let me think." And she kept saying this phrase over and over during the mock test. Well, examiners know that you're just saying it to buy time if you use the phrase like this. And that doesn't make you look good, So, use such phrases strategically, okay? Alright. And lastly, guys, IELTS is about communication, not perfection. Practice, stay confident, and you've got this. Okay? And drop a comment. What's your biggest IELTS challenge? Let's discuss. Alright, so that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Alright? And I will see you next time. Bye, guys!